news surrounding Karoline Leavitt's White House press briefing following President Trump's announcement of new tariffs on Canada. It's a complex situation with significant international implications.
Indeed. The timing of the briefing, so soon after the tariff announcement, suggests a coordinated effort to manage the fallout and potentially explain the administration's rationale.
Exactly. The swift response indicates the seriousness of the situation and the potential for widespread economic repercussions.
Absolutely. Tariffs of this magnitude can have a ripple effect, impacting not just Canada and the U.S., but global trade as well.
And the involvement of Karoline Leavitt, a prominent figure in the current administration, adds another layer of intrigue. Let's unpack this. Let's start with the tariffs themselves. What's your assessment of President Trump's decision?
The decision to impose new tariffs on Canada is a significant escalation of trade tensions. It's a protectionist measure aimed at shielding certain U.S. industries, but it risks triggering retaliatory measures from Canada and disrupting established trade relationships.
And what are the potential economic consequences?
The consequences could be far-reaching: increased prices for consumers, reduced competitiveness for U.S. businesses reliant on Canadian goods, and potential job losses in both countries are all real possibilities. The disruption to supply chains could also be substantial.
Now let's shift our focus to Karoline Leavitt's press briefing. What was the likely purpose of this briefing?
The briefing likely served several purposes. First, to officially announce the tariffs and provide a detailed explanation of the administration's reasoning. Second, to attempt to preempt criticism and manage public perception. Third, to potentially address concerns from affected industries and reassure them of the administration's support.
Do you think the briefing was successful in achieving these goals?
That's difficult to say definitively without knowing the full content of the briefing and the subsequent reactions. However, the very fact that a briefing was held suggests an attempt at damage control. Whether it was successful will depend on the overall response from Canada, other nations, and the U.S. public.
How does this action affect U.S.-Canada relations?
This action significantly strains U.S.-Canada relations. It undermines the long-standing trade partnership between the two countries and could damage trust and cooperation on other issues. Canada is likely to respond with retaliatory measures, further escalating the conflict.
And what about the broader global implications?
The move sets a concerning precedent. It could embolden other countries to adopt protectionist policies, potentially leading to a global trade war with devastating consequences for the global economy. International cooperation and trust are crucial for maintaining stability, and this action jeopardizes that.
The YouTube video mentions several other news stories related to this event. How do you interpret the media's coverage of this situation?
The media coverage reflects the multifaceted nature of this event. We see reports from various news outlets, each offering a different perspective and highlighting different aspects of the story. This diversity of coverage is crucial for a well-informed public discourse.
And what about the public reaction?
Public reaction is likely to be divided, depending on individual perspectives and political affiliations. Some will support the tariffs as a means of protecting domestic industries, while others will criticize them for their potential negative economic consequences. The media's role in shaping public opinion will be significant.
What are the potential political ramifications of this decision, both domestically and internationally?
Domestically, the decision could impact President Trump's popularity and influence. Internationally, it could affect U.S. standing on the global stage and its relationships with key allies. The long-term political consequences are difficult to predict, but they are likely to be significant.
Could this decision influence upcoming elections?
Absolutely. The economic consequences of the tariffs, along with the public's reaction, could significantly influence voter sentiment and electoral outcomes. This is a major political gamble with potentially long-lasting effects.
Were there alternative approaches the administration could have taken to address the concerns that led to these tariffs?
Yes, several alternative approaches could have been explored. Negotiation and compromise with Canada, focusing on addressing specific trade imbalances through targeted measures rather than broad tariffs, would have been preferable. A more collaborative approach would have been less disruptive and more likely to achieve positive outcomes.
What are the potential benefits of such alternative approaches?
The benefits of negotiation and compromise include maintaining strong trade relationships, avoiding economic disruption, and fostering cooperation between countries. These approaches are more sustainable in the long run and contribute to a more stable global economy.
Well, what's your outlook for the future given the current situation?
The future is uncertain. The situation is highly volatile, and the outcome will depend on the actions taken by both the U.S. and Canadian governments, as well as the reactions of other countries and the global market. A de-escalation of tensions is possible, but it requires a willingness from both sides to engage in constructive dialogue and find common ground.
What factors will determine the success of any attempts at de-escalation?
The success of de-escalation efforts will depend on several factors, including the willingness of both governments to compromise, the ability to find mutually acceptable solutions, and the overall global economic climate. International pressure and public opinion will also play a role.
What role does the media play in shaping public opinion and influencing policy decisions in this situation?
The media plays a crucial role in informing the public, shaping public opinion, and holding governments accountable. Accurate and unbiased reporting is essential for a well-informed public discourse and for ensuring that policy decisions are made in the best interests of all stakeholders.
How can the public discern credible information from misinformation in this complex situation?
The public should be critical consumers of information, verifying information from multiple sources, and seeking out reputable news outlets with a track record of accuracy and impartiality. Being aware of potential biases and vested interests is also crucial.
Let's revisit the economic impacts. What industries are most likely to be affected by these tariffs?
Industries heavily reliant on trade with Canada, such as agriculture, automotive manufacturing, and energy, are likely to be most significantly affected. The ripple effects will extend to related industries and the broader economy.
What measures can these industries take to mitigate the negative impacts?
Affected industries can explore various strategies to mitigate the negative impacts, including diversification of supply chains, cost-cutting measures, and lobbying for government support. Adaptability and innovation will be crucial for survival in this changing environment.
What are the potential long-term effects of this trade dispute on the global economy?
The long-term effects could be significant and far-reaching. Increased trade barriers, reduced global trade, and slower economic growth are all potential outcomes. The disruption to established trade relationships could have lasting consequences.
What lessons can be learned from this situation to prevent similar disputes in the future?
This situation highlights the importance of maintaining strong trade relationship, engaging in constructive dialogue, and avoiding protectionist measures that can harm the global economy. A more collaborative and multilateral approach to trade is essential for long-term stability and prosperity.
What role does diplomacy play in resolving this trade dispute?
Diplomacy is crucial for resolving this dispute. Open communication, negotiation, and a willingness to compromise are essential for finding mutually acceptable solutions. International organizations and mediators can play a vital role in facilitating these discussions.
What are the potential obstacles to successful diplomatic efforts?
Obstacles to successful diplomatic efforts include political polarization,